Speaking of, in particular, Netflix docuseries that you've been working on, Diddy Do It.
Right.
You've been saying for years that you feel you knew Diddy's character.
The internet didn't wake up to music news, it woke up to a digital crime scene. 1 minute 50 Cent was posting like it was just another day of chaos. The next minute alleged private messages involving Diddy hit the timeline, and suddenly, Jay-Z went quiet. Not busy quiet, not album loading quiet, disappear from the radar quiet. The kind of silence that makes group chats freeze and conspiracy theories sprint. Screenshots flew, captions screamed, comment sections went feral, and the same question echoed everywhere at once. Why did the noise stop right when the leak hit? This didn't feel like coincidence, it felt like a door slamming shut in real time. If hip-hop is chess, this was a surprise check that nobody saw coming. And the board flipped instantly. 50 Cent didn't tease. He didn't hint. He detonated. And in a culture where silence is louder than denial, Jay-Z's sudden quiet became the loudest sound on the internet. Fans didn't know whether to brace for statements, lawsuits, or a calculated blackout. Critics sharpened their takes. Supporters scrambled for explanations. And the rest of the internet did what it always does, it watched, refreshed, and waited, because when legends collide and messages allegedly leak, it stops being entertainment and starts feeling like a secret that wasn't supposed to see daylight. And once that door opens, there's no closing it quietly. What made this moment feel no clear wasn't just that 50 Cent allegedly dropped private messages involving Diddy, it was the timing of what happened next. Jay-Z didn't respond. He didn't clarify. He didn't post a vague quote or send a proxy to set the record straight. He went quiet. And in a culture where silence is never neutral, that quiet hit like a subwoofer drop in an empty room. Let's rewind. Because context is everything when the internet starts connecting dots like it's a conspiracy corkboard. 50 Cent has never been the type to whisper. When he wants attention, he doesn't knock, he kicks the door off the hinges and asks why everyone's staring. So when alleged screenshots and references to private Diddy messages surfaced under his watch, nobody treated it like an accident. This felt deliberate, calculated, and timed to maximum chaos. The internet reacted instantly, because of course it did. Screenshots were passed around like contraband. Captions went from "wait, what?" to "oh, this is bad" in under 10 minutes. And then people noticed something even louder than the leak itself: Jay-Z's absence. No tweet, no post, no background noise. Just a sudden blackout from someone who usually moves with precision when the spotlight heats up. Now here's where the tension thickens. Jay-Z isn't new to controversy. He's survived decades in an industry built on rumor, rivalry, and reinvention. When noise pops off around his name, the response is usually measured, indirect, or delayed with intention. But this time felt different. This time, the quiet didn't feel strategic. It felt defensive. And the internet smelled that immediately. Fans split down the middle faster than a comment section during election season. Some argued this was chess, not checkers, that Jay-Z was smart enough to let the internet burn itself out. Others weren't buying it, pointing out that silence only works when there's nothing to hide. When alleged messages are circulating, and your name is trending for the wrong reasons, saying nothing becomes its own statement. Meanwhile, 50 Cent did what 50 Cent always does: he kept posting. No panic, no backtracking, no "y'all misunderstood," just the same chaotic confidence that suggested he knew exactly what kind of storm he'd just kicked up. That posture alone convinced people this wasn't bluffing. Even if nothing was fully confirmed, the energy said, "I'm not worried." The background history between these names made everything heavier. This isn't random celebrities crossing paths. This is hip-hop royalty with decades of shared rooms, shared secrets, and shared silence. When messages allegedly leak at that level, people don't think gossip, they think cover-ups, alliances, and power dynamics. The speculation didn't come from nowhere. It came from years of stories the industry never officially explained. What really poured gasoline on the fire was how fast the narrative started forming without facts. People weren't asking if the messages were real anymore. They were asking what they meant, what was implied, what had been said behind closed doors that the public wasn't supposed to see. The conversation jumped straight to interpretation. Because interpretation is where outrage lives, Jay-Z's silence didn't exist in a vacuum either. It followed a pattern the internet is obsessed with: disappear when things get uncomfortable. Whether that pattern is real or imagined doesn't matter once people believe it. The moment the blackout happened, it became evidence in the court of public opinion. And public opinion doesn't wait for receipts to feel convinced. Then came the takes. Oh, the takes. Some said this was nothing but clout theater, 50 Cent poking the bear for attention, knowing Jay-Z doesn't engage in mess. Others argued this was exposure season, and the quiet was proof that something landed too close to home. Both sides sounded confident. Neither side had proof, and that didn't stop anything from escalating. What made this even messier was how Diddy's name sat at the center like a pressure point. Any alleged message tied to him instantly raises eyebrows because of his long, complicated history in the industry. People weren't just reacting to what was leaked, they were reacting to what they already believed might exist. The leak didn't create suspicion, it activated it. Memories resurfaced. Old interviews, old lyrics, old moments people ignored at the time suddenly felt foreshadowing. The internet loves retroactive prophecy, acting like every past interaction was a warning sign all along. It's unfair, but it's effective. Once people start rewatching history with a new lens, the story grows legs. And still, Jay-Z stayed quiet. No background statement, no subtle PR cleanup, nothing. That absence became the loudest voice in the room. Supporters framed it as dignity. Critics framed it as avoidance. Neutral observers just kept refreshing, waiting for anything to break the silence. Silence creates suspense, and suspense feeds engagement. What's wild is how quickly the narrative stopped being about the messages themselves. It became about power, about who speaks and who doesn't, about who controls the story and who loses control when someone else hits post. In that sense, this wasn't even about DMs anymore. It was about dominance in a digital age where screenshots outranked status. Industry insiders stayed publicly quiet, which only made things worse. No quick denials. No "this is fake" statements floating around. When people who usually rush to distance themselves suddenly go mute, the internet assumes coordination. Again, assumption isn't proof, but it doesn't need to be. The story was already moving. By the end of this phase, one thing was clear. This wasn't going to be a quick scandal that burns out by tomorrow's news cycle. The silence, the leak, and the personalities involved guaranteed longevity. People weren't just watching for updates, they were watching for cracks, for reactions, for mistakes. And in an industry built on image control, the most dangerous thing isn't a leak. It's losing control of the narrative while everyone is watching. By the time the internet finished digesting the silence, the story had already shape-shifted into something bigger and far messier. What started as alleged messages became a referendum on power, loyalty, and who really controls the narrative in hip-hop's upper floors. The timeline didn't wait for confirmation. It crowned conclusions. And once conclusions get crowned online, they don't step down quietly. Reaction videos flooded the feed like emergency broadcasts. Creators leaned into their microphones with solemn faces, talking about patterns and energy as if vibes were evidence. Others took the sports talk route, breaking it down like a playoff series. 50 Cent made a move. Jay-Z stayed quiet. Diddy's name sat in the middle like a chess piece nobody wanted to touch. The confidence was breathtaking. Nobody knew everything, but everybody sounded like they did. Memes arrived right on schedule. Silence memes went ghost memes. Screenshots of empty timelines turned into punchlines. Jay-Z's absence was turned into a character all its own, like the quiet villain in a movie who hasn't appeared yet but somehow dominates every scene. The internet loves a void because it can pour anything into it and call it truth. Then the pop culture comparisons kicked in. People said this felt less like a rap beef and more like a prestige drama where the most dangerous moments happen off-screen. Others compared it to a corporate scandal where the CEO disappears to focus on family while lawyers warm up in the background. One viral comment said this made reality TV reunions look like improv comedy because at least those come with disclaimers. This came with silence. What really escalated the chaos was the way other celebrities hovered without committing. Likes appeared on posts questioning the leak. Old interviews resurfaced and got reinterpreted like they were coded warnings. Vague captions popped up with suspicious timing, the digital equivalent of someone clearing their throat during a tense meeting. Nobody wanted to say too much, but nobody wanted to miss the moment either. The outrage wasn't unified. It splintered. Supporters argued that Jay-Z doesn't owe the internet explanations and that silence can be strategy. Critics countered that strategy only works when there's nothing to clarify. Neutral observers just kept refreshing, waiting for anything to break the quiet. Silence creates suspense, and suspense feeds engagement better than facts ever could. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's posture never wavered. No scrambling, no cleanup, no taken out of context speeches. That calm confidence poured gasoline on speculation. People read it as certainty. Whether that interpretation was fair didn't matter. It felt convincing. In the court of public opinion, composure looks like leverage. Diddy's name sitting at the center made everything heavier. Any alleged message tied to him instantly triggers pre-existing narratives, theories, and unresolved questions people have carried for years. The internet didn't react to what was shown. It reacted to what it already suspected might exist. The leak didn't invent suspicion, it activated it. And then came the armchair psychology. Suddenly everyone had a theory about why Jay-Z went quiet. Some said it was legal caution. Others claimed it was brand protection. A few went full soap opera, suggesting internal panic behind closed doors. None of it was proven. All of it spread. When a story reaches this phase, plausibility beats proof every time. The most dangerous shift happened quietly. The conversation moved from "are these messages real" to "what do they imply?" Once implication takes over, reality becomes optional. People weren't debating authenticity anymore. They were constructing meaning. And meaning is where reputations start taking hits without a single verified fact changing hands. Industry insiders stayed publicly silent, which the internet interpreted as coordination. Silence multiplied. No quick denials, no aggressive pushback. In online culture, collective quiet reads like confirmation, even when it's not. The absence of noise became noise itself, a feedback loop that grew louder with every refresh. Old rivalries were dragged back into the spotlight. Old lyrics got replayed like they were confessionals. Old business moves were re-examined as if they were chess gambits leading to this exact moment. The internet loves retroactive prophecy, pretending history always points to the present once the present gets spicy. What added another layer was how fast the narrative escaped hip-hop and entered mainstream gossip lanes. This wasn't just rap Twitter anymore. It was everywhere. Blogs, podcasts, group chats that don't even listen to rap anymore. When a story jumps lanes like that, it stops being niche and starts being reputational. Jay-Z's silence began to feel less like a pause and more like a test. A test of patience, a test of loyalty, a test of how long the internet would talk to itself before inventing a verdict. And the internet predictably failed that test with enthusiasm at the same time. Pushback started forming. Some voices called out the hysteria, reminding everyone that alleged messages don't equal proven wrongdoing. They warned about the danger of turning quiet into guilt. But reason travels slower than outrage, and those reminders got buried under hotter takes and louder thumbnails. The story's gravity kept increasing because of who was involved. These aren't influencers beefing for views. These are industry titans whose silence, presence, and alliances shape careers. When names like these get tangled in leaks, even alleged ones, the shockwaves ripple far beyond the original post. By the stage, the scandal no longer needed updates to survive. It was self-sustaining. Every hour without a statement became an update. Every unrelated post became interesting timing. Every move or lack of move was framed as strategic. The narrative had teeth, and it wasn't letting go. And just when it seemed like the noise couldn't get any louder, the tone began to change again. Not toward answers, but toward consequences. Because once speculation hardens into belief, the damage doesn't wait for truth to catch up. It moves ahead on its own timeline. When the noise finally plateaued and the timeline moved on to its next obsession, The damage didn't disappear, it settled. This is the phase nobody clips for thumbnails because it's quieter, colder, and far more consequential. The phase where reputations don't explode, they corrode. And for everyone orbiting this situation, corrosion became the new normal. Jay-Z's continued quiet didn't end the story. It rewired it. Silence stopped being interpreted as strategy and started being read as posture. Every absence became intentional. Every non-appearance felt curated. Fans who once praised his discipline began whispering about avoidance, while critics treated the blackout like an admission without words. The truth, whatever it was, became irrelevant to perception, and perception is the currency that actually spends. Industry conversations shifted behind closed doors. You could feel it. The tone changed from curiosity to caution. When alleged leaks reach this altitude, nobody wants to be caught saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. Calls get shorter. Meetings get rescheduled. Public alliances don't dissolve loudly. They stiffen quietly. That's how power protects itself, not with statements, but with distance. Diddy's name remaining in the center added a gravity that refused to lift. Even without new information, the association alone did work. Old narratives resurfaced and stuck like dust to velvet. People didn't need updates. They needed confirmation of beliefs they'd already formed. Once a story hits that stage, it doesn't need truth to survive. It just needs repetition. 50 Cent, meanwhile, didn't look rattled. If anything, the storm seemed to orbit him without landing. That confidence, real or performed, became its own message. In internet logic, the person who looks least worried usually gets crowned the winner, regardless of facts. Composure reads as control, and control reads as leverage. Whether deserved or not, that's how the audience tallied the score the most. Revealing part wasn't what was said, it was who didn't say anything. The absence of quick denials, the lack of coordinated pushback, the missing chorus of industry defenders all spoke volumes to an audience trained to read silence like subtitles. Even neutral observers started to feel like something had shifted. Even if they couldn't explain exactly what, public perception hardened, not into a verdict, but into suspicion. And suspicion is harder to undo than accusation because it pretends to be reasonable. People didn't say this is true. They said something feels off. That phrase does more damage than any headline because it lingers. It follows. It attaches itself to future stories like a footnote nobody asked for. Media coverage changed. Tone too. Less breaking. More developing. Less excitement. More implication. That shift matters. It signals to audiences that this isn't a flash-in-the-pan scandal. It's a slow burn. Slow burns don't dominate headlines, they dominate conversations. And conversations are where reputations actually live or die. What's wild is how quickly the internet accepted not knowing as normal. The lack of resolution became part of the narrative. No statement? That's the statement. No lawsuit announced? That's strategy. No denial? That's telling. The audience filled in blanks with confidence, and confidence doesn't need confirmation to feel convincing. Behind the scenes, brand calculus quietly adjusted. Nobody announces it, but risk tolerance shifts. Projects get reevaluated. Timelines get flexible. Visibility gets managed. This is how fallout works at the top, not with cancellations, but with recalibration. Doors don't slam shut. They stop opening automatically. The irony is that none of this required the messages to be proven real or fake. The impact happened anyway. That's the uncomfortable truth of modern scandals. The allegation doesn't have to land. The reaction does. And once the reaction sets in, reversing it feels like trying to unring a bell in a crowded room. Fans who once defended with certainty began hedging. If true became the most used phrase in comment sections. That's when you know something stuck. Support didn't vanish. It softened. Enthusiasm turned into caution. Loyalty turned into weight, and now that the noise has quieted just enough for people to pretend nothing happened, let's be honest. If you're still here, the story already did its damage. Not with a confession, not with a denial, but with silence. The kind of silence that makes everyone lean in closer instead of moving on. Because when the biggest names stop talking, the internet starts writing the story for them. So let's talk about it. Drop your real thoughts in the comments. Was this a calculated chess move that the public misread, or did that sudden quiet say more than any statement ever could. Did 50 Cent just shake the room for laughs? Or did he pull a thread nobody wanted tugged? Say it with your chest, because this comment section is where speculation turns into debate, and debate turns into momentum. If this breakdown had you refreshing your feed like something else was about to drop, smash that like button like it owes you money and just tried to duck the payment. Likes tell the algorithm this story isn't finished. And trust me, the algorithm loves unresolved tension. While you're at it, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because stories like this don't end, they pause, reload, and come back louder. This channel doesn't chase press releases or wait for permission. We track the silence, read between the moves, and follow the ripples long after the headlines disappear. When the next leak hits, the next name goes quiet, or the next nothing to see here moment shakes the room, you'll already be locked in, because in today's game, silence is strategy, screenshots are power.